Hey guys, how are you all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic and welcome back to the channel. Today what I have for you guys, I can never say that right, is another Disney movie review. This is the third out of 4 Disney films I'm going to be reviewing that are classic and based off of the older Disney rides. This one is Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Now, me personally, I don't recall ever being on this ride. I do know some history behind it, but I never was on it. As far as I know, when I go on the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh in Magic Kingdom, that is where Mr. Toad's Wild Ride used to be. So for all of you older Disney fans who have been on that ride, you can double check me on that and fact check me. But I'm pretty sure that Mr. Toad's Wild Ride was where Winnie the Pooh, Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh used to be. Now, some other cool information, little Easter eggs for the Winnie the Pooh ride, is that when you're on the ride, and this is at Disney World at Magic Kingdom, when you're on it, and that scene where you're on the thing and you're in the honey pot and you're bumping around, you're sliding everywhere, and you can see Owl on the top, and like everything's just blown up because Pooh's house is flooding and all that. Not blown up, but you know what I mean. So if you actually look right when you get in the room to that area, if you look straight to your left, you'll see a picture, and on that picture you will see Mr. Toad signing the deed to Owl for the ride. It's like a symbol for the ride to be, kind of transitioned from one ride to another. So Mr. Toad is clearly okay with this. And then you can also see another Easter egg. This one is actually in the Haunted Mansion. When you leave the Haunted Mansion and you look after all those signs on the left where it's like all the little puns, if you keep walking and then you look to your left, not many people know where this is. But there's like a pet cemetery, and at the very top you can see Mr. Toad on the top of the cemetery. So, again, that's another little thing, like, he's not here anymore, but, again, Mr. Toad will not be forgotten. Again, I haven't been on the ride, so if you guys have been on the ride, leave a comment down below and tell me if it was any good, or if you like the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh better. But, on to the real topic at hand. Today we are reviewing Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, the movie. I thought Tower of Terror was pretty good. It was okay in my review. If you haven't seen that one, check that out. But this movie, it's not that good. That's all I'm going to say. It's not that good. Maybe it's just because I don't know a whole lot about Mr. Toad. But as far as I know, he was an animated character. I think he had some animated movies or an animated show or whatever it was back in the olden days. But he was always animated for those rides, especially the ride. And when I bought this DVD pack, I was like, oh, it's live action? That's kind of strange. Now, I'm not one to judge anything until I see it. I'm not going to go, oh, that's stupid. I have to see it and I go, oh, I liked it or I didn't like it because of these reasons. And I didn't hate Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, but I certainly didn't enjoy it that much. Again, this is an older Disney movie, so they probably did, made it a little bit more more kiddie. I'm not so sure, but the moment I saw it, I was like, okay, this is kind of strange. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty here. I think the plot is very simple and very childlike, but not bad. When I say childlike, I don't mean it's stupid. I just mean there's no real stakes, like Rat and Mole and just all these other people. Well, okay, they're people. They're real life human beings, but they're supposed to be animals, animated animals in live action. So basically, it's the animated thing, but just in the live action format. And that didn't really fit for me because I'm looking at Rat and Mole and all these creatures, even the bad guys, the weasels, and I'm like, it just doesn't look good. You know what I mean? It just doesn't transform into what I would want. I'm sure if they did it now, it'd be fine, but I don't know. It was just really weird. And then you see, Mr. Toad, and you're like, oh my god. It's just abysmal. I mean, he's just got green paint on. It's like Lou Ferrigno and the Hulk. So, I don't know. I think the costumes, they did the best they could, I guess. But, I don't know. And again, that plot is it's simple. Mole's house is destroyed because they want to build a dog food factory. And that's literally it. I mean, they literally the weasels want to build a dog food factory so that they can become super rich. And to do that, they have to blow up Mole's house. That's it. And it's not bad. It's just not really important. You don't really care. That's the one thing. You don't care. If you're a little kid, you might care. But if you're 13 and above, a teenager and above, you probably won't care. Acting, as far as I go, the acting, it was actually better than Tower of Terror, which is strange, but I feel like each character did the best they could to become that character, like Rat, Mole, and Toad, and the Weasels, and everyone. They all. Again, I haven't seen anything before of Mr. Toad, anything, but like Winnie the Pooh, they're very animated and they have their own like each individual kind of like personality, and each character did that perfectly, in my opinion, perfectly. Fun fact is that Rat, when his whiskers always go, bong, I think that's kind of funny, but he's actually played by the guy who, and for the life of me, I can't remember as I'm filming this video. I think his name's Nigel something. Oh man, he's the guy from Figment, the ride at Epcot. He's the dude, the scientist. Nigel Channing, I think that's it. Oh, is it Nigel Channing? I think it's Nigel Channing. He's Nigel Channing in the ride, so it's the same dude, which I think is kind of cool because he worked with Disney. I'm not sure when Figment went up, but he definitely worked with them before, so that was kind of cool. And yeah, as far as I go, like I said, the plot was just okay, no stakes really. The acting was better than Tower of Terror because they all fit the role they were trying to be. Toad got a little annoying with his oh and his weird screaming and murmuring, but I guess that's the character, so I can't really blame the actor too much. It's just a silly movie. I mean, that's not a bad thing. It's slapstick silly. Like when they're all fighting in the end, instead of hearing like or something like a normal punching sound, it's like just like weird Batman-esque animations. It just doesn't make any sense. And again, I don't know. This leads me into my next thing. This movie doesn't really know what it wants to be. Now, I could be completely wrong, and Mr. Toad Adventures could be completely like this in animated realm. And again, I haven't been on the ride, but to me, it just seemed all out of whack. I mean, at first they're trying to rescue Mole, and they're singing about picnics, which is fine. But it goes to like a train robbery, to Toad getting captured for liking automobiles. And again, that's his character, right? Toad is like a very outgoing. He's like your typical lovable idiot. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I can describe it. Like, he loves driving, and he loves it so much that he's an idiot and he crashes. But he just can't get it through his stupid head, or his toad head, that, dude, you keep driving cars, you're smashing everything up, you're going to hurt someone in the process. But he's like, oh no, I like cars, I want to drive cars. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. So that's his character, I guess. But for some reason, and then, like, so he gets thrown in jail, and then just weird stuff happens where there's, like, guns. At first I thought this was super kiddie, right? Because, like, the sun is talking, and the clocks are talking. So I was like, okay, this is one of the more kiddish Disney movies, right? But then I'm like, oh, no, because then there's guns. And I'm like, oh, well, you have to be 10 to watch it because it's PG, but no 10-year-old is going to, like, want to watch this because of the plot. Only a little kid would like that. And then there's guns, and it's like, what's happening? There's, like, violence. There's even, like, they even, like, get, like, their hands like this, and they're just, like, going like a conveyor belt, and the weasels are going to put them down like a mincer. Kind of like Fuzz. Kind of like Kingsman: The Golden Circle, right, with Poppy, if you've seen that movie. And it's like there's blood on the thing, and it's like, what the hell's going on? You know what I mean? This is not a kid movie, but it looks like one in the beginning, and then it quickly turns into like an escape movie. So it's a wild ride. That's what I can explain the plot. It's Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and it's a wild ride. But it just doesn't really have that charm that you would expect from a Disney movie. It has charm, trust me, but it also has a lot of slapstick humor and just silly things. It's just silly. Like, I'm watching it, and I'm like, yeah, okay, this is fun. It's older, whatever. But, I don't know. The songs were okay, and the acting was okay, and that's really it. The plot was very mild and just kind of dumb. You didn't really need a plot, but again, it encapsulates the characters, so I guess that was alright. But yeah, all in all, I think that Mr. Toad's Wild Ride was the worst one I've seen so far out of the three, just because it has a very poorly made quality to it. And I know Tower of Terror felt like a TV movie with all the weird things that they were doing, but this one just feels like a more... I don't know. I feel like Disney didn't necessarily care about this one, just because of all the things that happened, Some shots were really bad, and some transitions were god-awful, and just nothing really came together, The characters were fine, and the plot was okay. It was passable. and the songs were alright, but I mean, other than that, it didn't really have that magic that captures Disney for me, you know? But that's what it is, you know? It didn't feel like an epic Disney film. So definitely not a bad movie, but I mean, if you're a big fan of Mr. Toad, check it out. If you've probably already seen it, though. But again, this is the third out of 4 classic Disney movies that are based on rides that I reviewed for you guys. And this was the worst one in my opinion so far. I'm going to be watching Country Bears next. So let's see how that goes. But yeah, I'm going to have to give Mr. Toad's Wild Ride a C. Definitely not a terrible grade, right? I mean, a C is average. It's good. But it's definitely not up to par with what even Tower of Terror was, or especially Haunted Mansion. So thank you guys very much for watching, and stay tuned for another awesome video about Country Bears soon. And subscribe and leave a comment down below if you guys have seen Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. And again, if you've been on the ride, and if you have, explain it to me, if anyone sees the comments ever. But yeah, so thank you guys, and we will see you all in the next video.